Greetings and welcome to another episode of Obby Live. I hope you guys are doing alright out there at the moment. We'll be starting up our stream in just a minute. To any regular viewers, you might notice we got slightly different background audio. Let me know what you think of it, if it's an improvement. We are going to be looking at the subject of gambling and football this evening, soccer to those in the United States, and seeing whether there could be an influence in how people bet and the outcome of results. That will be one subject we're going to look at this evening. Also, if we go back to a couple of weeks ago, a couple of Thursdays ago, I did a live stream called, let me see if I can find it now. We did a stream called Funeral Foretelling, where I actually touched upon a subject. Hang on. I also did a video called Breathtaking, which will just bring the display up for 1 second and have a look at. Now, I came across another article since this. I suggested that the TV program Breathtaking was a good reason to throw away your television. And I then saw a TV article, let me find it a minute, asking the very question, Breathtaking, how much of ITV's devastating new COVID-19 drama is true? I'll give you a very quick answer to this one. None of it. It is all acted out. It is all a dramatization. It is all scripted. So to answer the headline, who was the actual newspaper that asked us this question? It was the Evening Standard, and yeah, unfortunately, Evening Standard, it turns out that not one part of this drama was in any way real life. I'm sorry to say. But regardless of that, let's see just what the Evening Standard tell us in regards to how much of it is true. Will they be as blunt as that? Will they say no, not one single part of the TV program Breathtaking was true? We'll have a look. Right, hot on the heels of lightning rod drama Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, another supposed TV show, probably based on supposed real life, and they're getting ready to release another massive drama. I think they've already shown it. I'm not sure if it was a one-off episode or if it's a series, but needless to say, it's all utter garbage. Yes, though many of the show's most shocking moments will already be familiar to viewers, like how many viewers were, yeah, we've all seen it on the news before, you're absolutely right. Releasing elderly patients to care homes without tests, for instance. What a brilliant move. Telling people, no, you don't need a test to go and live in a home. So that's a plus point as far as I'm concerned. But no, apparently that's a shocking moment. Elderly patients went back to care homes without having a probe stuck up their nose. Brilliant, as far as I'm concerned. It also examines some things you might make for unwelcome new information. What unwelcome new information might they be talking about? Just how much of the news reports where we were told on the day, like how many people, how many cases there were in what part of the country, and the reality of that was at the time, these tests that they were supposedly taking couldn't even give you a immediate response, or the ones that were supposedly immediate response were not considered reliable, and any positive test then had to be sent to a laboratory for further testing. Supposedly they probably just slung them all in the bin and made up the answer. Either way, the yeah, there was no way hospitals could accurately give news programs such as the BBC News. They couldn't be given accurate information on how many people had been struck down with an illness on this particular day. So, yeah, they didn't. So any numbers we were given were completely made up, I would say. Clark still works as a doctor today. Right, appropriately for a show about doctors, Breathtaking was actually written by 3 of them. Prasanna Puwanaraj, Rachel Clark, who still works as a doctor today, and Jed Mercurio, the man behind Line of Duty. Line of Duty, I guess that's another ITV drama. This person that writes that, supposedly a doctor. No, I wouldn't personally think he's got time to be both a screenwriter and a doctor, but it's adapted from the novel Breathtaking, so it comes from a book, a drama. Yeah, it's taken the Evening Standard an awful long time to tell anyone that's clicked on this news article that none of the programme was true. Okay, but we do get to hear quotations. I guess we wanted to always be reflecting the story that all of us knew already. Well, all of us had constantly be told already. Everyone's dying from a fatal illness, which was utter rubbish as it stood. Which is essentially from our lockdown TV screens. Yep, that was all it was. It all came from TV screens. A lot of us, of course, were affected by not being able to go to school, not being able to go to work if their places of work were closed down. We were all affected by those things, but none of them were illness. They were not related to illnesses. So we wanted the drama of the inside story, the bit that we don't know, to constantly be referencing the stuff that we do, so that we could easily allow those two strands just show the divergence between what was actually happening and what we were being told. Haven't watched it, wouldn't watch it, but if you have, then yeah, let us know any thoughts you have on it. Breathtaking. I'm still going to say a great reason to throw away your television. Right, we are going to move on to tonight's main topic, which is about gambling. And anyone, yeah, I can't say I gamble anymore. I have put bets on horses in the past and football matches. In fact, back when, I think it was around 2007, I remember I was quite into football at the time, and I had, following it. I was quite enjoying the Champions League, and I remember telling a few people, AC Milan are going to win this year. And I even predicted that they would play Liverpool and beat them. And eventually did put a bet on it at the semi-finals, even though I was calling it out just after the group stages. And happened to be correct in my guesses. I'm not saying I had some sort of foresight into it. I just had a feeling the outcome, which then when I tried it again a year later, didn't happen. Or the next prediction, the next football match I bet on wasn't correct. I do think in gambling, and beginner's luck seems to be a very unfortunate thing, and certainly seems to be apparent. People, just when they start maybe playing bingo for the first time, they end up being fortunate, winning perhaps their bet. Back when I was growing up, even before that, I remember my mum used to do what they called the evening, the pools, the Littlewoods pools and Vernon pools, and spot the ball. I remember a guy used to come round every Wednesday night or so and knock the door and give us, and we had to pay, I don't think it was much, 50p or so, and you got to fill out one of these. Let's see if we can get a close-up on it. This looks like a very old-fashioned one. But essentially what you had to do was mark, like each row would be a game, and against the teams, it would tell you who's playing, and you would have to predict whether you thought you had to mark them. And if the ones you marked ended up being score draws, then you would get 3 points. If they ended up being goalless draws, then you would get 2 points. And if they weren't, and if and I think that was the only 2 options, or it might have been 1 point. I can't remember it now. But the aim was those with the most amount of points from playing football pools would end up winning fairly, substantial jackpots of like into the 100 grand, I would say. Now, let's see. Yeah, there was also Spot the Ball. Yeah, the big company doing it were at the time Littlewoods, who also happened to sponsor a football event. The Littlewoods Cup was the sponsorship for what is now known as, I don't know what they call it now. It's basically the League Cup, and it's available to probably all the teams that they list on these coupons. Right, hang on. Let's see if we can get... but yeah, this article, onlinebetting.org.uk. These days, most people associate the origins of football pools with Littlewoods, the Liverpool-based company founded by John Moores. It's... yeah, what happens when we put John Moores into the numerology calculator? Okay, 46 and 51. Bernard realised that most of his friends had a growing passion for football and placing bets. Back then, football was very much in its embryonic stage of development and was nothing like the BMF that it is today. Betting, as mentioned in the introduction, was only legal on horse races. Yeah, I do remember they did football pools because, yeah, it must have been because you couldn't bet directly on football matches, which, of course, you can now. Anyway, yeah, Littlewoods took over a company called Vernon's. Again, we'll just bring up this numerology calculator for a second and put in Vernon's. I'm sure that one gives us a very familiar number. Yeah, Vernon's happens to be 33 in Chaldean numerology. If that means nothing to you, then I would kind of suggest looking into Chaldean numerology and Pythagorean, checking out channels like They Live Truth, who cover it a lot more than I do. I see it there, couldn't necessarily tell you its origins or where it comes from, but it certainly is in yeah, they certainly do include these numbers, right? And when we then go down to some of the history of people that have won, it's worth checking out some of the names. Right, it's more likely that a good portion of people reading this won't know how the football pools was played. I do have a memory of it, despite the fact that it avoided coming under jurisdiction of the Betting, Gambling and Lotteries Act of 1963 by claiming to be a game of skill rather than fortune, where it was very much the latter. Yeah, true. As much as betting is a skill, yeah, I think fortune in modern day betting nowadays is not... Yeah, I suppose there is luck in it, but I think there's also probably quite a lot of deception as to... starting with games like the football pools, those people that actually ended up winning the jackpot, I would say, were maybe not quite as they seemed. I'm not sure, we'll see. Right. Yeah, and when matches was postponed, how entrenched the football pools were into football. Back on Grandstand, when they used to read out the results. They would tell you if a match was postponed, what way the pools panel decided it would go. Because, yeah, that was one of the main reasons. Right. And it would consist of former footballers, ex-referees, to decide which way they thought the game would go. And it included the likes of Tom Finney, Gordon Banks and Roger Hunt. And they would meet in a hotel in London in a private session every weekend and decide upon the outcome of postponed matches. I would probably hazard a guess that something else was going on in those hotel rooms. When the football results were read out on Grandstand's final score, the announcer would always inform the watching public of the panel's decision by saying something like, away win. Yeah, famous football pool wins. These people are, as far as I'm concerned, I would hazard a guess that when we've shown winners of 100 grand these days, that yeah, they're not just bog standard members of the public. By the way, greetings to Adam in the live chat. Great to see ya. The only person tuning in by the looks of it. Says Paul Pogba gets 44 in reverse reduction. The kill code, the killing of his career maybe. Okay, yeah. The only numerology I'm familiar with is Pythagorean and Chaldean. But I'm aware there are other like calculators out there. But yeah, that's one step further. However, Adam, if you yourself have a channel or you know any channels where they cover numerology, then I would certainly invite you to share them. There is a person, I liked one of his tweets earlier, so let me see if I can find him. And he goes The Illusion he's called. He's got a channel on YouTube and he goes pretty deep into numerology, like way more than I certainly do. Pointing out, I mean, are these mere coincidences? Jurgen Klopp announces this will be his last season as Liverpool coach. The year that Euro 2024 takes place in Germany and England's campaign begins on Klopp's 57th birthday, and it'll be the first. It'll be 57 years since England won their last trophy. So, yeah, another number that I see coming up with Liverpool a lot is 96. But yeah. The Illusion. I will leave a link to this guy in the live chat and the description, but it is also on YouTube as well. Thank you, Adam, for tuning in tonight, by the way, because I said it before, a live stream where no one's watching is a person just talking to themselves, so the fact that you've interacted in the live chat makes all the difference. Thank you. Yeah, I've put a link in the description, by the way, to this person's Twitter account where you can find him on YouTube. Okay, going back to the football pools. There have been a number of well-known pools winners. Yeah, because people always want to advertise the fact they've just come into 100 grand. You have to be mad, but 1950 is typically seen as a watershed moment for the game when Mrs. E. Knowlson of Manchester became the first person to win 100,000. Knowlson, of course. Let's put it in the numerology calculator. Knowlson is a 33 in Pythagorean. Yeah, and that was the first person to win 100,000, over 100,000. 3 years later, that total doubled when Nellie McGrail. Is McGrail on our list? Yeah, if you put the... Yeah, anyway, Nellie McGrail went over, won 200,000. Come on, let's have a look. How do they spell the name? Nelly McGrail is a 66. If you've not heard me say it before, the numbers to look out for in numerology: 22, 23, 33, even 36 and 66 again. But yeah, it's a language in and of itself, numerology. Whether you speak Chaldean, whether you speak Pythagorean, whether you speak, what was it Adam suggested? Reduction, reverse reduction. Whatever language you want to speak in, then these are the... then yeah, this is 33 comes up quite a few times. What about Nancy Walpole? That wouldn't be another 33 name, would it? I've got a feeling it might be. Let's see. Walpole is, yep, 33 in Chaldean. Right, that was nothing compared to 1986. A group of nurses from Wiltshire became the first to win on the pools. And then in 1994, the year generally considered by one that gave the pools a mortal wound, a syndicate from a pub in Manchester won just shy of 3 million. Not all stories were happy ones. Joe Boscher, yeah, plenty of stories about, you know, sub-stories, just like we now have with the National Lottery, which pretty much replaced the relevance and the importance of betting on football on the pools. However, the National Lottery 100% is another rigged event as far as I'm concerned. I would say all of the big name lottery winners are probably... It'd be interesting to put their name through the numerology calculator, put it that way. In fact, we could do a quick search for that one. Famous British lottery winners. Right. Let's see. We'll go to the biggest prizes ever won in the UK. Carol Martin. David and Carol Martin. David Martin happens to be a 33. Would you believe it? And Carol... Okay, you can stop typing now. Yeah, David and Carol happen to win £66 million. We haven't put Carol in yet. Hang on. Carol Martin is also a 33 name. And just to prove it, not all names are 33. Check yourself. I mean, I'll put Obby Lines, the name of this channel, 31 and 36. My old channel used to be Bobby Zines, 35 and 47. So yeah, not all names are 66, but or 33. An anonymous winner, 142. Jackie Green and 2 others. Right, I didn't want to go completely numerology in this video, but yeah, Jackie Green, what do you know, 33 in Chaldean. Who saw that coming? Anonymous ticket holder won 195 million. You really think the National Lottery are handing out 195 million pounds to members of the public? I promise you they're not. Absolutely promise you they're not. Joe and Jess Thwaite from Gloucester, what do you reckon? Are we going to see anything coincidental? Joe Thwaite. Oh, hang on, haven't entered it properly. Joe Thwaite is a 44. in Pythag, and Jess is a 38. Okay. So that one isn't a 33. What about Joe and Jess? Let's have a look. Joe and Jess is... okay, 57. Right. Adrian and Gillian Bayford. This will be... oh, Colin and Chris Weir. There's so many of them. Right, we'll do one more. We'll do Chris Weir. 28. Colin... Colin Weir happens to be another 33. Came up again. And then finally Adrian Bayfield. Oh. Bayford, sorry. There's a 39 and a 64. Of course, Bayford on its own. Okay, 35. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, the numbers, of course, don't really tell you everything. What would be the purpose of all these games being rigged? You could ask. I mean, yeah, what the football pools made me wonder is, or at least sort of put in my mind the idea that if you were able to influence the outcome of a football game to be favourable for your competition, let's say you were a company called Littlewoods and you sponsored a tournament such as the Littlewoods Cup. You're putting a huge amount of money, giving a huge amount of money to a group of footballers, and in return, all they've got to do is just make sure that the game goes in a certain way. Then, okay, Adam, by the way, says Walpole gets 33 in 3 separate ciphers, and an anonymous ticket holder gets 111 in reverse. Like on the Monster Energy drink. Yeah, I'm familiar with the 3, with the demonic branding of the energy drink Monster, most certainly. The rebrand was a success. Yes, and now if you look at it, I remember betting companies started sponsoring football clubs. If you look at the first team I saw with a sponsorship, a bookmaker sponsoring them were AC Milan, which was kind of interesting. I'm not sure who sponsors them now, but was it Betfred or Bwin? Of course, Bwin are a gambling site, and it came at quite a surprising time when a couple of teams in Serie A were suspended from they had a load of points reduced off of them due to taking part in match fixing, and it was to do with a betting scandal. Let's see if we can find anything about it. Serie A betting scandal. I mean, there's probably been more than one, but let's see. How far back does it go? It was to do with Juventus, who now are one of the, they are still the biggest football team in Italy. One of the biggest football teams in Italy, and they had so many points taken off them that they were relegated, and didn't take them long, but they came back. But it just seemed strange timing that at a time when the Italian league was at a, at a crossroads with like betting allegations, and the teams start getting sponsored by bookies, for example. Now, let's see. I'm not sure if I've seen Liverpool with the same thing, or Man United. Who sponsors Man United? Because my opinion is that all high-profile football matches, and it probably goes beyond football. I mean, UFC. I'm not sure if any of you would be surprised that UFC was like as scripted as WWE wrestling. If you have any doubt about that, just look at the okay, maybe Man United haven't. Right. Yeah, so bookies are putting a lot of money in. Right, let's see. Football bookmakers sponsoring Premier League teams. Which, of course, when you look at something like Littlewoods, who did the pools, sponsoring the tournament, then yeah, I can see a kind of a link myself. My goodness, the live chat's quiet this evening. Perhaps that sporting, bookies and bookies paying football teams to throw matches in their favour, so that, let's say, just like the football pools would have done, on a Wednesday night, they know what they would have to pay out in what outcome, and if they could convince the teams taking part to let the game go in a certain way, or whether to be a draw or not, then I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, yeah, sponsors have a huge amount of clout, as it were. It's everywhere, Manchester United, Aston Villa, loads of teams are now sponsored by such entities. And I also would not put it past, certainly wouldn't put it past these bookmakers to try and influence people to wouldn't try and influence the results to go in their favour. Yeah, speaking of betting and gambling, I certainly don't recommend anyone. Well, it's up to you, of course. What people choose to do with their earnings is up to them. But beware that those you're giving your money to, how much of a real chance you've got of winning in the end. I know someone, and they've started going to something called rock and roll bingo. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this. I think you have a card. They play numbers. They play music, and if you've got that song on your card, then you just cross it off. Now, it turns out, this has been done in a pub where they're raising money. Basically, the proceeds of it go to the local Pride Festival. And, that happened last year. And on the same night as it happened, I heard about someone I know, and apparently they had their drink spiked. Not necessarily related. I remember the same night a fight broke out outside our home. The next morning, apparently, a body was found in their flat. I mean, it was a young person, just happened to die that night. Loads of things. And someone was arrested for exposing themselves and doing something to a tree. All on the night they had their Pride Festival in our local town. Doesn't happen often, but toxic AF. Whatever. I've never been to one, thank Yehovah. I did, as I said before, find myself at, we went in a pub on a Sunday afternoon and they were getting ready to host a Pride after show. It was the year prior. Okay, yeah, it's anyway, yeah, I got out there sharpish. I mean, what these people choose to do with in their own time, I'm not going to judge them for it. It's between them and their creator, our creator. But yeah, I can't be seen, Yeah, it's not a thing I wish to. It's not a toxic environment I want to bathe in, and it is toxic, unfortunately. Right, I gotta say, ridiculously quiet live stream this evening. If anyone is with us and watching, and you want to say hello, that would be great. Yeah, these streams go on about 30 minutes, so we will be bringing this one to a close. I'll be putting it out of its misery in a few minutes. Right. Yeah, Adam, thanks ever so much for taking the time to comment. Do you put any content out yourself? Do you have a YouTube channel you want us to look at before we go? Or any one you want to shout out? We'll certainly have a look at them, and I'll put a link somewhere. Actually, let me see if I can get to your channel. Probably not. Go to channel. Okay, I see you've got one, but you haven't uploaded any content. Fair enough. Don't blame you. Okay, I'm going to start playing our music that we're going to end the stream on. I may be back at the next Thursday for another live stream. Although, if it's as quiet as this one, I'm not sure I will. We'll see. Okay, maybe it's because I changed the background music, which I've now got playing. Alright, if anyone happens to find their way to this live stream and want to share any thoughts on betting, gambling, whether football is fixed by those that sponsor them, Littlewoods, for example, could they have influenced all the leagues that they cover to make sure results go their way? That's one reason a team would have for faking the outcome of a game. Yeah, since I've come to the conclusion, I mean, for me, right, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with George Floyd, for example, or when they had a helicopter crash with Bournemouth, I believe. Was it Bournemouth? Whoever it was. And blatant garbage stories, stories that I've called out. Now, yeah, so how can I then watch football games and believe that what I'm going to see is in any way going to be based, in reality, when they kneel down for George Floyd or they give a minute's silence for the football club owner that supposedly died in a helicopter crash? Utter garbage as far as I'm concerned. Okay, before we go, there are a few names who I would like to show my thanks and appreciation to. They're up on the screen now. There is links in the description of this evening's video. If you want to check them out, please do. And as I say, we're going to call it a day there. If anyone's made it this far and you want to show your thanks and appreciation, then by all means hit the thumbs up button before you leave. Right, I'm going to say good night. Thanks for tuning in. Over and out.